Anyway, we won't worry about that for the moment.
Um,
Sorry, go on.
Is this about
Ready?
the corona? It is indeed about the corona. Okay, we'll get started and basically we'll just share it. I think, first of all, we're not experts on this area whatsoever. We've no medical expertise. So we're not trying to pass ourselves off as two experts of any kind on the coronavirus. Other than we know it's a virus, we know it's in at least 114 countries around the world. We know it has claimed casualties along the way. We know it's prone to people with underlying health issues, people who've cancer, people with or diabetics. Um, so we know that much, and that's as much as most people do know. We'll read out some of the facts that we know from the WHO organization, WHO, which is the World Health Organization, and also some advice from Thomas McCann, traveller counsellor, and deals a lot with mental health. Also, I think we're just going to talk about it in terms of how best we can protect ourselves. As Dylan was saying earlier on, it's kind of a case we all might get it anyway. But with that, I think it's a case of preparing ourselves. So, yeah, maybe Dylan can give us whatever you have on the virus, what you know of it, how is it spreading, and or whatever. Don't you? We're not experts.
Yeah, well, you mean as an archaeologist now, I should be able to talk about this, no problem.
Yeah, I think so. Well, I'll give you an example. Right? I made a video.
You asked me a question, then go on.
Yeah, that would make sense too, I suppose. The virus, right? Coronavirus. It's in Ireland as we speak, and the biggest concerns people have are how to protect themselves, how to mind themselves, how do they stay safe in this situation. And I think that advice could go, we'll have to split it in a couple of different ways because there's people in direct provision, there's people in halting sites, overcrowded situations, and of course a lot of settled people and travellers who are in houses. Yeah. So it's easier to sort of isolate in a house as it would be other areas. Yeah.
There is people in difficult situations. You probably wanted to say what we were talking about earlier, which is the why people are isolating and why it helps. Or what they mean by isolation. I don't think in some cases they haven't really explained why we're doing it.
Yeah.
Me and you were talking about that a bit, weren't we? In terms of like, to put it simply, if we do nothing, the virus will transmit. Will move from person to person so quickly that we will get many cases all at once. What were you saying? A bit like when a website crashes because there's too many requests hitting it at once or whatever.
So basically it's a flu like the other flus. It's a good chance we're all going to get it. And I think when we were saying before about it in Ireland, people said there's a bad flu going around.
Yes.
But then when we kind of analyze it, the flu is going to go around anyway. We have to prepare ourselves for the worst impact of it. Okay. So we're saying about YouTube or any website where say like 1 billion people go onto the website at the same time and then the system crashes because it can't deal with the overload on its systems, its hardware, its processors, all that collapses. That's sheer pressure. So when I say that, I think of the situations we see on YouTube in Australia and other parts of the world where people are making huge dashes into the shops, into the supermarkets, and lining up. They're grabbing trolleys, they're grabbing items, they're spitting, they're shouting, they're roaring. They're doing everything the virus would be very happy for them to do if it could be happy to do things like that. So that is not isolation. With overbulking.
Okay, so there's no need. Firstly, as I would say, and I'd say the same. Obviously, the doctors, from what I've read, I can only follow on that regard. But obviously, there's no need for people to panic, as they say. So it's not affecting supply lines in terms of goods and toilet roll and things like that. There's plenty of that in the world. So we try to avoid people panicking and all the rest of it, that kind of way. You also don't need to panic in the sense that people will get the disease. Most people, 97% or 98%, maybe higher, depending, will survive the disease just fine. It's not flu. It's a bit more serious than flu, but it's not lethal either. Most people will recover from the virus. The vast majority, like 90,
there's been far worse ones, Ebola.
And so 98% would recover, but there is about 10-15% where it causes viral pneumonia. So it is to be taken seriously because viral pneumonia is not a trivial disease for anybody. Now, again, most people will recover from that, but about 10 or 15% require hospitalization, as far as I'm aware. That's what's happened in Italy, is that because if you allow the whole population to get it at once, is what we're trying to avoid by what we're calling isolation and lockdown at the moment, is we're trying to, and social distancing, as they call it. So people are standing and distancing in queues, things like this, and washing your hands, other advice like this. So it's transmitted in droplets that are either on objects, on door handles or anywhere like that, or tissues, anything we touch in general. Or it's when people sneeze or cough in the air or whatever, these droplets might land on something or on clothes or onto anything like that. So after we've been out and about, we wash our hands to try and deal with that, because soap will break down the virus. If you use just ordinary soap will do the job if you wash your hands correctly. But it's remembering to wash your hands after everything you do, almost before every meal, after every meal, when you've been out and about, when you've touched the door handle, So you can do all of that. And people do say as well that, you might think gloves would help, but gloves not necessarily great help, because the virus will just go on them.
If you're on the outside, then you take off the glove with the hand anyway.
It's actually better to wash your hands, even if you've been wearing gloves. Fair enough, but then you need to wash them afterward anyway.
Yeah.
And so the idea, like what me and you were talking about, and I think it's an important point, this is that what we're trying to do is, we're not that afraid of certain people getting it, but what we're trying to do, what the government is trying to do right now, and what people are trying to do in general, what we want people to do is not all get it at once, basically. Slow down people getting it, slow down the transmission so that the medical system can cope, is essentially it. And if the medical system can cope, then nearly all of us will be fine.
Yeah, so stockpiling food is not really going to help. It's not we're not preparing for a famine or anything.
No, it's more of a long-term mission, this.
Yeah, and stocking up on toilet paper.
No, there's no need. There's no need for it.
I think where that came from, actually, and I've seen this.
Toilet paper is confusing, isn't it?
This is what I thought it was. Someone got a sheet of toilet paper and they folded it up, wrinkled it. All you do to fans like the Japanese or the Chinese, doing one on them on it. But what they do, they folded both ends of it and they put an elastic in it and they stapled at each end. So they widened it out and they used it for a perfect mask.
Oh, all right.
So I think that went somewhat viral, and then word went out that toilet paper is special. They were just using it for a mask. You can use it for other things too, as you know.
I don't think toilet paper would have much effect, would it?
I doubt it.
Will I show that?
You can, yeah.
Can we see that? Or is it just blank?
Just go closer. There you are.
Oh, yeah, there we are, yeah. So, there we are, yeah. That spike there is if we do no keeping our distance from each other and all the rest of it. And if we don't lock down the place and close schools, we have this massive spike. And that's everyone getting the virus at the same time.
Oh, I see, yeah. So basically you build a shield.
This line here is how much the medical system can cope with at any one time, how many people, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So that spike goes way up beyond that, which means basically the medical system cannot cope if everyone gets it at the same time. If the medical system can't cope, then the rate that people start dying at does increase a lot, if you know what I mean. That's what we're trying to stop happening. But if we can slow it down, the curve is like that, and it stays under what the medical system can deal with.
Yeah, I got you.
And everybody gets treatment then in that scenario. So
I'm going to read out a couple of bits and pieces Thomas McCann has sent me. Yeah, I suppose another way it's like preparing for, metaphorically, mentally, is preparing for war. Because you would put up a good shield, you put out, and you take the brunt of it. And that does come in on top of you. You can take it off easier, as opposed to let it all in one go.
There's going to be an attack, but how are we going to survive it is basically how it's going to...
The other thing for travellers on camps, and particularly on camps and halting sites and places like that, and this again metaphorically, in other words, draw out your own plans. Travellers are very smart people. We've been doing this for centuries. And all that hygienic basin, separation of washing, can't wash your hands in the sink, in the kitchen sink, or your hair, or babies, or clothes. We don't even put underwear with other clothes. We separate them too. All of them are kind of traditions and rituals that went on with travellers for years. And the reason they did wasn't because it was a spectacular thing to do. It was a survival mechanism that kept us alive. Because we've been dealing with these things on the fringes of society, or in a society where many diseases would have came to the country one way or the other. Diseases always have been happening. It's part of the
Well,
human
we-
genetic makeup anyway.
Yeah, and we were talking about those kind of hygiene rules, those kind of traditions, or whatever you want to call them. But they save people's lives, literally. So yeah, sticking to all of them.
So basically,
very good
you
idea.
having news flashes and on the paper, wash your hands. The experts are told you to wash your hands. Again, a lot of travellers would know this, and they would see the travellers' hygienic code. It wasn't just one thing about washing the hands. It's a separation of everything. Same way when it was rituals of movement, survival, land,
So they're
rivers,
yeah. So they're
natural appetite.
they're the same principles that they're trying to get the whole community to do at the moment, which is to understand. Every time you touch, it's like if you touch this, then don't touch that.
Yeah.
Do you know kind of way? Or if you do touch this, wash your hands, then touch that. You know kind of way.
It's a kind of a.
So you have to be aware of, you know what I mean, everything you're doing. But like I said, a lot of the traveler community would do that kind of thing anyway.
Yeah, but like everything else, unfortunately, sadly, with travellers in more recent times, with the whole breakdown of our culture, I mean, it's one thing to do that, but to have peace of mind to be able to do it in the first place is another thing. So we don't have that. And then with psychological pressures and stresses can have a physical impact on your body, make you more vulnerable. Puts us all into a bad situation.
So
I think
some disadvantages too that you were telling me that you wanted to talk. I mean, like as in the people. If someone does have symptoms and they're, the people are all living together and they don't have the luxury of being able to isolate, so that is a problem.
So Thomas McCann sent me this, and he says just a couple of bits and pieces, steps that local traveller organisations should take, and hopefully we can work with traveller organisations in the future, because all of what we do is interlinked with everything while we're here. But this virus is also about past, present, and quite an uncertain future for a lot of people if we don't act now. But basically, Thomas is saying that travel organizations should contact the manager of the local HSE service in their area and look for advice. Because again, travelers are on a different environment, halting sites, overcrowding, people in direct provision. These could end up being semi-death traps in some ways. So it's looking for advice around that they should be looking for. On housing schemes, same thing, same sites. And if travelers, do come into contact that do come from them environments, how that would be addressed. Also, to set up a phone for advice for local travelers and contact details of services, which we put some links in after this video. And I suppose also, just in Thomas's mention here, in relation to religious services such as weddings, funerals, baptism, pilgrimism. So yeah, kind of work. But religious outings. So all of that should be minimized. It should be put off as much as possible, except for the funerals. But even with that, have small crowds, a few people. All of this is about protecting the older travelers, one way or the other. So this is the war I'm talking about in some ways, is that if you were on a site or a camp or a piece of land, we did this hundreds of years ago. But what we do is we'd isolate the elderly, that we would put them in the centre, we would put them on an island, we would isolate them from the rest. We'd have a middle group that would be the protectors, that goes in and out, the handlers, looking after them, treating them, like we have frontline service today. And then a group doom would be the liaison group to protect the vulnerable, to protect the protectors. In other words, they would go out healthy, strong, young, that could bear the blunt of a virus or a flu, and relate that services back to them the most safest route possible.
Yeah, because there is a bit of concern I see where they realize.
I'm also allergic to a cat. I wonder why I'm at my nose.
Oh, yeah.
I've been allergic to cats for years.
They're concerned that children are not vulnerable in terms of in danger as such. Mostly with this, it's extremely rare for them to have any problems. But the problem is that they could spread it easily to older people who are vulnerable, and you mightn't even know the child has it.
I got you. So the child could be out playing in the parks, in public, holidays, whatever it might be.
And that's
why carry that back to their family.
That's why they're shutting the schools down. But I think in some of the cases in China and Italy, they've had problems where grandparents are looking after children or things like this, and the children might have had it and it would get passed on. It was because they hadn't shut down quick enough. And the next thing, people start getting it. Now, in fairness, like I'm saying, there's not a lot. If it happens, it happens. It's not something to panic about. But again, if you have symptoms and you're worried about it, the HSE are asking people to call them, and then they can deal with it. And also for people who can't, that they're going to make things available, as far as I understand, to people who need isolation or need to be brought away.
You were telling me this before, which is interesting because I go back to the clans and the old people. I know the history. It's all interlinked anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
That they had great respect for the elders and the sick. They also had their own hospitals. So if the elderly needed to be protected, they'd be put on an island. If they were ill, they'd be put on an island. They'd be looked after.
Hospital. A lot of the crannogs in the lakes were traditionally were run by religious in the old days, obviously, but a lot of them functioned as hospitals. And of course, they were ideal for a hospital from our point of view because, you see, our hospitals now are obviously have excellent facilities in them, but the problem is they're like centralized. They're in the big towns. And everyone's there. Everyone the diseases kind of they're hard to isolate. Basically,
well, if you're sick, you're bringing that disease in.
Yes. So they're hard to isolate. If you know what I mean. Now the traditional hospitals that way. Now obviously we didn't have the technology we have now, so that was a downside. But the upside was putting them on islands in the lakes. Traditionally, was very clever in the sense that it immediately created isolation, like what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Automatically, because you just the water around it, you just couldn't get to it. So the sick people were isolated there, and neither it would work both ways. They wouldn't get diseases that might be going around in the community, so they had a chance to recover.
Yeah,
and also the community will be protected from anything they might have.
Correct.
You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So, and then obviously only certain people come in and out to deal with them.
Yeah.
And those kind of rules were laid down. So, there was that. And Irish society in general was more dispersed. We were talking about as well. It wasn't that we didn't live in towns, which turned out to be a huge advantage. Living in groups that were more spread out across the countryside meant it was much easier for us to create those gaps that the virus couldn't jump through.
Yeah.
Because plagues aren't a new thing, as you know.
Yeah.
They've been around since, forever.
Yeah.
They come and go.
Mentioned in Bibles and so on and so forth.
So different societies and old traditions, including the things you were talking about the hygiene things, anyone who preserves those traditions, they're there for reasons, because they're what kept people alive in the past. But our society was quite well set up to deal with that sort of thing in the past. Now, you know yourself, I was talking about it with you. They give out about it being, it's not, if it's not urban and people live across the countryside and it's not good for services, and it's, they give out about rural Ireland in that way. But you can see the advantages when it comes to a situation like that, this, like we're in now.
Well, this is almost a semi-isolation, and the environment is much better to deal with viruses because you're eating healthier, you're moving, you're fitter, you're stronger.
No, that's it. And you're not crowded together in spaces like in towns. Towns were always much more dangerous, and still are. Let's be honest,
Well, that's the thing about the history carrying to the present and the future, because this virus there's not a great deal known about it, as in where it originated. And it's something
first detected in Wuhan in China.
And you feel that Ireland could be a good place for this virus because of the climate?
Where we appear to be wide open at the moment. As far as I've read, I think there's still research in that, but as far as I know, about 8 point something degrees it seems to spread the quickest at. So it's about the same temperature as it is right now here. So I think that's why it's spreading quickly in this part of Europe at the moment. Where people are hoping that as the temperature rises coming into the summer, and that's another reason why we're trying to slow it down. So basically, and I mean, some people I see in other areas when people were confused about isolation and all that, but at the bottom line, it just means you stay in your house and stay in your house or wherever you're living as much as possible. Keep to yourself. Is the basic rule, and any contact you have with the outside world, you make sure that you wash everything thoroughly, including and especially your hands.
Hiding, protecting yourself, isolating yourself, cutting yourself off isn't necessarily about avoiding the flu. There's a good chance we're all going to get it anyway. That is a good chance we're all going to get it. It's flu. It's a flu.
Yeah.
What we're trying to say is that get the shields up as such, protect ourselves as much as possible. It's like if a big storm was coming, we got to pull the hatches down as long as we can.
Yeah.
Because if we all get the flu all at the same time and we rush into the systems, the hospital, the HSE, we will crash them systems. We'll not just crash them, but we'll also cause a lot of death. We'll also affect the people that are already in the hospital with underlying health issues that will be overshadowed with the COVID-19 virus. These are not alarmist things.
No,
I'm saying that this is how it spreads.
No, if
we're telling you how to, I suppose, slow that down somewhat.
If we lock down and isolate ourselves now, like we're doing, then we slow it down and we don't have anything to worry about. Even if you get it, you don't have anything to worry about. In general,
Yeah.
if you know what I mean. With most people, and that includes even older people.
Because you want to point out, Jeremy, that system, right? That system is a level line.
Yeah.
And that's what can deal with every single day, 24 hours a day. It's designed for that.
Yeah.
For everybody in the beginning of that gets the flu, that's the height that comes down on top of that system.
Yeah.
But if we protect ourselves, slow it down, and feed the virus through the process, through that line, we'll all have a better chance of coming out of
Yeah,
it.
you want to keep it like that, which is the same as you said about not panic buying. If you don't go in and buy all the toilet roll, then there's enough for everybody.
I just want to say this other thing to the people who are thinking about panic buying, toilet paper, going out, and all that kind of stuff. You're going into a building that I already mentioned earlier on, that's closed off. You're as well to take off your clothes, run out to a car washing service, put CV or CB19 into the pumps and wash yourself in it, because it's equivalent to that. You're running, you're going there where the places we're telling you to ban and stop and not to go to is all the places you're going to. When they said to you, do not have more than 100 people. And worse than that, you have a lot of agitated people. And again, it's not necessarily false, because the worst virus of all viruses is the virus of fear. A lot more information should have been provided. A lot more measures should have been taken. We're not going into conspiracy theories or anything, but the whole Cheltenham, the whole areas where people with wealth has a certain better services for health, full stop. People going into post offices, sign on the plastic pens, going on to sign on, into the, whatever it might be. These are public services. We are two different kettles of fish, as you're concerned. We need to protect ourselves. We need to protect the elderly. And we need to get smart, get fast.
Well, so like you're saying, you want to minimize your, trips to the shop and all that are fine, but you probably don't want to spend, again, everyone there at the same time is pointless. It's not really the point.
Yeah,
it's against what we're trying to do. You want to be there. We want to keep it nice and steady so we can keep everything clean.
I see the picture on social media, whether it's photoshopped or not, it doesn't matter, because the very realistic thing that would happen is that the shoppers want everybody bought shite paper and don't need half of it, don't need a quarter of it. If that's blocked up in their house, and then along comes elderly people looking for groceries, looking for milk, looking for bread.
Yeah.
What are we doing?
So like you said,
we're killing them before the virus even gets to them.
Yeah. So like you said, the principle is the same with the medical system. We want people are going. We can't help but people are going to get the virus at some point. But we want everyone to get proper treatment. So we don't want it's the same as all running into the supermarket. We don't want to all have to arrive at the hospital at once, because a lot of us will be left outside in that case.
And the other thing is that you can have very strong religious beliefs, and I've never tried to take them away from you, but this is not a religious thing. It's not a political thing. That's this religion and politics is a human thing. This is a virus thing. It has no concept of religion or politics.
No.
So holy relics, going to wells, going to churches, praying, and stuff like that wouldn't be the answer. It'd be farthest thing from the answer. Safety, washing hands, and all the protection stuff that we took. Well,
there's no harm as long as you do the other things as well. Kind of way. As long as
wash and go.
Yeah.
Again, I suppose we're going to finish up now, but basically, it's going to create circle the wagons. That's all we have to do. Protect the elderly, create lines of defences, have people doing runs for elderly, protect the old, keep young people away as much as possible, stop sending items, gifts, presents, or anything like that, even exchanging money as much as you possibly can. Just get over the storm, and hopefully we'll come out the far end of it, and we'll be back to making Travision history things, or we'll be part of the history.
Yeah, that's basically that's it. Yeah,
114 countries at the moment.
Yeah. There was something there I was thinking. Anyway, it's not a new thing. No, these things pass over. We're looking at the good side of it is that we have a chance, unlike in the old days when you had no communication and you didn't understand what a virus was. It's like in the old days, the cholera epidemics or any of these kind of the famous ones, the plague. But we have no idea. I mean, there's no reason for people to be panicking in this day and age. We actually understand what a virus is. We know how to defeat it.
It's quite sad.
We know what it is, how it works, where it comes from. This is a novel one, as they call it, so it's actually new, which is why everyone might get it at once, is because no one has any defense to it. But in the old days, we wouldn't even see this coming. It would just land on a community, and nobody would know what had happened.
Oh, gotcha, yeah.
If you know what I mean. So it's important now to realize that we have a huge advantage. If we can slow it down, we have a medical system that'll keep most people alive. We have most people will recover from it. we can keep the whole system rolling and intact and keep most people in one piece.
There might be, and hopefully there mightn't be, but sorry.
Just to say, in a year and a half, I'm going to say, in about a year, the slower it is, the better. And in about a year, we'll even vaccinate the population, and then that'll be that, kind of way for this round anyway.
Again, it's not going too much into the politics or the religious or any other aspects of it, because basically there's not much we could tell you. We could tell you about how the UK are so backward and are going to cost so many lives. We could tell you that Donald Trump is an idiot. All of those people, they don't give a damn, right? We could go into that. We're not here for that. We're here to tell everybody, traveller, settled, brown, black, every colour, any colour. We need to support each other, and that's communicating better with each other by discommunicating physically and finding ways, being alert, being informed, and stick with the facts and stay away from conspiracies, nut jobs, and people like that, because they just do your head in. Dylan Foley, I think that's as much as I can throw out there. I think it's...
Yeah, no problem. Is there any?
Is there? I can't see it, but not sure. Maybe we're back. Or maybe we'll share this video anyway, and hopefully it's some use. Just stop the panicking. There's absolutely panicking will cause worse.
I'm sick. I have a cold all night and cough and ear infection. My God.
Oh yeah.
That sounds terrible. There's other flus going around at the moment as well. So I would be, and they say that if your nose is running, you probably don't have COVID-19. But if you are worried, don't be afraid to ring the HSE.
Yeah, this is not whatchamacallit. This is not like The Walking Dead. We get the virus and you wake up and you're a monster. Just stop getting them things out of your head. It's a flu. A lot of people, many people are going to make it, and hopefully. There's less casualties than...
Well, like we said, it's about 90, estimates vary, but it's 97, 98% or whatever are no problem with, in the end, recover. But like we said, we will have problems if everyone gets it at once, and it'll be less people recover in those scenarios. So Ireland's doing the right thing, and Irish people will do the right thing now.
Well, the Cheltenham, that's not the right thing.
That's not the right thing. No, not in my opinion anyway. No, and I think there's a reason why we look at the countries that have experience of this, like China and Italy now at this stage, and they're telling us what to do. They're telling us now, slow it down as much as you can.
Yeah,
keep your medical system intact, keep it running, and anyone gets it and needs help, they'll get help. The problem they're having there, as I've kept saying, is very simple. It's swamped. Once it's swamped all at once, people aren't getting the help.
Getting a cough, sneezing, or anything like that, it's not a case for you to jump into your vehicle or call an ambulance and go straight to the hospital. I would say call the HSE, call your local doctor, seek advice, because again, it's about isolation. You can keep the virus, you can battle it out the best way we can, but we isolate ourselves and cut ourselves off as much as possible we can, we have a better chance of saving everybody. Well,
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Folks, thank you very much and keep safe. Whenever you're ready.
Press the button, is it?